Hello viewers, you're welcome to my channel again. Today we are going to learn how to draft and cut out our basic body measurements. I'm going to be making use of paper, but then you can also make use of your fabric. And one thing about paper is that after making use of the paper, you can decide to draft it out on your fabric directly. It's the same thing. So let's start right away. The body measurements you will be needing for your bodice is, or rather are, your shoulder measurement. That is the distance between the two shoulders. From one acromion of the shoulder to the other acromion of the shoulder. What's your acromion of your shoulder? Your acromion of your shoulder is that elevated, bony, round part of your shoulder. When you touch your shoulder, you can feel it. So you measure the distance between these two parts of your body. That is your shoulder. That gives you the distance between the two shoulders. You would also need your bust circumference. That is the measurement round your breast. You would also need your waist measurement. That is the circumference round your waist. Let's start right away. As you can see, here are the materials. We have our marker, we have our scissors, and we have our tape rule. So as usual, I already got my measurements, and that's what I'll be working with for today's tutorial. So this is my material, as you can see. So first of all, you fold whatever material, including your fabric. Assuming you are using your fabric, you fold into two. You fold into two equal parts. Make sure they are equal, but at the edge, especially at the edge, make sure they are equal. Remember, your bodice has to do with your basic body measurements and how to cut it out on the fabric. So for today, we are focusing on from your waist up, the front part and the back part. So let's start with the front part. So when you already have your material folded, you have to let the folded part, that is the part that is closed, let it face you, just like mine is facing me. And then this one can be out. You use here to determine your horizontal measurement. You use here to determine your vertical measurements. So let's start right away. Aside from the body measurements you already have, there are basic or standard measurements you need for your bodice. And these are your bust points. Your bust point is usually 0 to 9 or 0 to 10 inches. It's 0 to 9 inches for ladies who are slim or not too bursty. And then from 1 to 10 inches for ladies who are fat or who are busty. So for a slim lady or for a lady who is not so busty, we are going to make use of 1 to 9 inches. But before that, you would have to draw a straight line. You have to just cover just 1 inch. That is 1 inch from the tip of your material. And you are going to find out why we are drawing it. So you measure just 1 inch below. These are 1 inch. You are going to find out why we are doing this. It will be of help to you while drafting out your final material. So from here, this is where we are going to take every other measurements down. So like I said, The standard measurements, there are standard measurements you need for your bodice, aside from your normal body measurements. One of them is your bust point. Meanwhile, this line we drew is called your shoulder line. And we are going to draft out the length of our shoulder. That is the distance between our two shoulders here. So from here, we are going to measure the rest. For our bust point is meant to be 1 inch. Our bust point is meant to be 1 to 9 inches, just like I said. We are talking about a lady who is slim. For if the lady is fatter or bustier, you can make use of 10 inches. So I'm going to measure out 1 to 10 inches. Meanwhile, I'm making use of 1 to 9 inch. That extra 1 inch that made it 10 inches, you are going to find out why I had to add it. Because at the end of the day, we'll still get our 9 inches. So we measure from here to 10 inches. And like, remember I told you, the lady in question is slim, not busty. So it's actually, her standard bust point should be 9 inches. What is even your bust point? Your bust point is the distance from your shoulder to your nipple. It's standard. For those who are slim, it's 9 inches from the shoulder. For those who are less bustier, it's 10 inches from the shoulder. So this is our bust line. This line is our bust line. This one is our shoulder line. 1 to 10 inches. I will remove this 1 inch that I added later because we are talking about a lady who is slim. So the next thing you are going to measure is your waistline. What is your waistline? Your waistline, your waist point. So from your bust line, you are going to add 7 inches. Whatever is your bust line, add 7 inches to it. It's also standard. 7 inches for slim ladies, 8 inches for ladies with wider hips or ladies who are fat. So let's go. Remember, we are trying to draft out our bodice, our basic body measurements. And these are the standard measurements we need. So I'm just going to add 7 inches because this is a slim lady from my bust line. Seven inches from my bust line. Make sure you take into consideration these standard body measurements. The bust point, 9 or 10, depending on the shape of the lady. The waist point, 7 or 8, depending on the shape of the lady. And how do you determine where your waist is? It depends. For some people, wherever you put your skirt, we call it your waist in tailoring. Some people put it above their belly button, some below their belly button, some across their belly button. That's their navel. So when measuring, you ask your client, where do you usually keep your skirts or your trousers? That would tell you the person's weight, the person's waist, where to take the measurement for the person's waist. So this is where we are stopping for the standard measurements. So once I draw this, it will serve as our waistline. So these are the horizontal lines we have. They are the standard body measurements from your shoulder line to your bust line, 9 inches, but I measure 10 inches and I'll tell you why. From your bust line to your waistline is 7 inches. It can be 8 if the person is fat. So the vertical lines, we are going to draft out the vertical lines. And what are we going to make use of? We are going to now make use of our own body measurements. So let's start right away. So my shoulder is 14 inches. Your shoulder, my shoulder is 14 inches and I divided by 2. When I divide by 2, I will have 7 inches. But I'll just add 0.5. Normally, you are not meant to add any sewing allowance to your shoulder side by side. You can only add it on top. But I'm just adding it. If I don't need it, I can just cut it off. It's better for me to have excess than to have less than I need. But on the shoulder, you don't really need anything like allowance, especially by the side. So my shoulder is 7 inches, but I'm going to measure 7.5. Okay, that's 7.5 for my shoulder. The next measurement I'm going to make will be on my bust line. Remember, this is the bust line. So the next measurement I'm going to make will be on the bust line. How do you get the measurement to take here? The measurement you're going to make here is your bust circumference, that is round your bust behind, divided by 4. Mine is 34 inches. Divided by 4 gave me 8.5. And then I will add 2 inches sewing allowance. So on a total, I'm going to map out 10.5 on this bust line. I will take it again. Your bust line divided by your bust circumference, measurement round your bust, that is round your chest region, divided by 4. Then plus 2 inches sewing allowance, or if your sewing allowance is 1 inch, any one. So on the total, I got 10.5. So this point is 10.5. That's for my bust. The next one will be on my waist. That is my waist circumference, which is 28 divided by 4 gave me 7, plus 2 inches sewing allowance, and then 1 inch dart allowance. On your waist is where you apply your dart. Assuming you are sewing a gown or a blouse, you apply the dart on your waist. If it is a blouse, the dart will start 1 inch under bust. That is 1 inch below your bust down to the waist. But if it's a gown, it will start from, that's a straight gown, no half cut. It will start from 1 inch below your bust, or 1 inch under bust, to 2 inches above your hip line. But today we are not talking about the hip. On another video, we are going to learn how to draft out our pencil skirts or our stretch skirts. That is when we'll talk about that more. And also on another video, we are going to learn how to apply our darts. But why cutting or why drafting is usually good for you to include the measurement for your dart. And that is extra 1 inch. And you add it on the waistline only. You don't add it on the bust line. You add it on the waistline only. So my waist circumference is 28, remember, and I divided by 4. Then plus 2 inch sewing allowance will make it 9. Then plus 1 inch dart allowance will make it 10. So this is it, 10. After this is done, we are going to go back to our shoulder line and our bust line. There's something that is missing. If you look at yourself as a human being, after your neck, after your head, you get your neck. So we are going to map out measurements for the neck. We're just going to map out the measurements, and then on a separate video, we are going to learn different neck styles to design or to draft out. And then after that, we'll go for our armhole. If you check it close to your bust or to your breast, you have your armpit. So we are going to measure out for the armpits. So but before that, let's talk about our neck. Now, depending on the type of neck you want to have, you measure. So assuming you want to have a round neck, which I told you we won't do today, but I'm going to carve out the measurement for it. I'm just going to carve it out and keep aside. So on another day, when we'll be doing different basic neck styles and advanced neck styles a tailor should know, or a fashion designer should know, we are going to talk about that in detail. So assuming I want to have a round neck, here will determine the width of your neck. Here will determine the depth of your neck. Here will determine the width. Here will determine the depth. Remember, this is your shoulder line, and this is what where we are making use of. From here to here, that is 7.5 inches. Why? Because that is my shoulder measurement. If yours is 8, you extend it. If yours is 9, you extend it. But this is what I'm concerned about. I no longer need here. From here to here is what I'm concerned, and that's where I'm going to get my the measurements for my neck. So I would like my neck to be 4 inches wide. So I'll measure 4 inches from here, from where it is folded. I would also like it to be 4 inches long, or 4 inches deep. So I'll measure it here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to carve out a box. This box is a reminder that this space is only for my neck. I shouldn't touch it till I'm ready to design my neck. So let me do it right away. And I'll just join it. So this is my neck box. For my neck, any design I want to make, I can make it here. Remember, it all depends on what you want. Yours can be wider. The standard neck measurement is usually 3 to 3.5 wide, 3 to 3.5 deep. So it all depends on what you want. Like I said, you can make yours longer, you can make yours wider. But this is the stage at which you get it. Now, after getting the measurements for your neck, or the space for your neck design, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to get our shoulder slope. What is your shoulder slope? If you look at yourself, you discover that the distance between your shoulder and your neck is not straight, it's slopey. From your neck, it is a little bit slopey. So for the blouse or for the gown to rest well on the shoulder, we are going to subtract 1 inch. Look at where we are going to subtract it from. This is actually where my 7.5 stopped, remember? So I'm going to remove 1 inch from this 7.5. That 1 inch is meant to serve as my shoulder slope. It's going to go down, and I'm going to connect it back to my neckline. This is my neckline. Where my neck box started is my neckline. So I'm just going to go down by 1 inch. You go down by 1 inch, that's all. So from this 1 inch, I'm going to connect it back to this place. That was why I measured it 10 inches when I was measuring the bust point, because I knew that finally I'll have to remove 1 inch. And when I remove 1 inch, it will come back to 9 inches again. So that is it. So this is my shoulder slope. So the next thing we are going to mark out now is our armhole depth, or our armhole. That is that curve now. Your armpits, the curve for your armpits. This is the space we are going to use for it. And subsequent measurement is going to start from here, no longer from here. So if I measure this place to this place now, it will now give me 9 inches. Remember, I told you for a slim lady, the bust point is 9 inches. But I measured 10 inches because I planned removing 1 inch for my shoulder slant, or for my shoulder slope. So how do you calculate your armhole depth? That is how deep your armhole is. It's simple. There are many ways. There are basically 2 ways. One of the ways is to divide your shoulder by 2. My shoulder is 14 inches. If I divide it by 2, I will have 7 inches. And then I can decide to add 8 inches, 1 inch allowance to make it 8 inches. and that's just for formality. I can just decide to add 0.5. Your sewing allowance depends a whole lot on you. So right away, so that's the first way rather. Now another way of measuring your armhole depth is by measuring the circumference of your armhole. That is, you raise your hand, somebody will help you measure your armpits, the circumference, and after doing that you now divide by 4. The first one is your shoulder divided by 2. Whatever it gives you, you use it to determine how deep your armhole will be. The second one is dividing the circumference. Circumference means round. Dividing the distance round your armpit by 4. Whatever you get, you use it as your armhole depth. So, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to make use of my shoulder divided by 2, which is 14. 14 divided by 2 will give me 7. But then I would like to add 1 inch allowance. So the shoulder depth I'm going to draw out now on this paper will be 8. I'm going to measure out 8 inches. Remember, you no longer start from here, you start from here. Inches. So I'm just going to connect these 2 dots. And then I will take it out. So this is how deep the armhole is going to be. It varies depending on the measurement you are using. So after getting our armhole, drawing our armhole depth or length, the next thing we are going to do now is this. We are going to find, remember we are trying to create our armhole curve. You can create it using your French curve. When we get there, you can just do freehand sketching, which is better because it's not in all condition that you have your French curve. So when you get used to having these curves, doing it by freehand sketching is usually easier for you. And even when you have your French curve, you can still do it. So it's good to learn both. So for the sake of this video, we are going to do freehand sketching. We are going to connect using a curve. But before then, this length, we already know is 8 inches. We are going to find the middle of it. It's from the middle of it that we'll draw our curve. This is 8 inches, as you can see, as we measured before. We are going to find the middle, which is 4. Put a point there. Now, if this is the front part, remember you have your front and then you have your back. We are still drafting the front. So for this front part, if you notice, you will find out that your armhole is deeper in front than behind. So because your armhole is deeper in front than behind, we are going to go in by at least 0.5. It's only for the front. For the back, you just carve it out. It doesn't really matter. So the next thing, we are going to connect from here to this place again. But this time around, we are going to be making use of a curve, not a straight line. Sorry, you come out this way by 0.5 inch. Sorry, it's confusing me because of how I placed it. Not here. You come inside by 0.5 because your armhole is deeper in front. So we are not going to connect right away. So this is the curve we are talking about. It's not actually straight. Just that my marker is misbehaving a little. Let me flip it. So you connect, better. So this is going to serve as our armhole depth. This is when we're making use of please. This is when the marker was misbehaving. So these are armhole. The next thing we are going to do now is we are going to add sewing allowance at the top of this place, just from here to here. Because if we don't add our sewing allowance, when we join our shoulders, when we join the shoulder, the blouse will shorten. So in order to avoid that, we are going to add 1 inch sewing allowance from here to the neckline. One inch sewing allowance from here to the neckline. Just follow the curve. Just follow the line as it is. That was why I asked you to give a space. So these are sewing allowance that I'm going to be making use of. Just stop at the neckline, the beginning of the neckline, just here. So this will serve as our sewing allowance. So I'm used to add 1/2 inch, but it's better to have excess than little. So you can reduce it if you feel it's too much, but just know that you added, when it's time for you to join the shoulders, just know that you added 1 inch sewing allowance. So be prepared to remove it so that the shoulder doesn't hang, so that the blouse rather doesn't hang. It relaxes very well at the shoulder. The next thing is we are going to connect these dots on the bust line and on the waistline. I'm going to connect it. Then after connecting them, we are going to cut it out. Please, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please, I would like you to do so for more interesting tutorials. And if you have any question, please do well to ask it on the comment section. Do well to ask it on the comment section. 10 inch, where are you? Okay. Just connect using a straight line. So we are going to cut it out. As it's folded into two, just cut it out. Remember, you cut outside the line, not inside. On a separate video, we are going to learn how to apply our darts and then necklines too, different neck styles or neck designs. You cut outside the line. Follow the tracings. follow the curve. And remember to add your cut out the parts that are not needed so they don't confuse you along the line. So this is it. I'm going to open it up now. So you see it, as you can see. So this is the neck. This is where the neck is meant to be. But like we said, we are not going to talk about the styles of neck we are going to do. We'll do that on another tutorial. So the next thing we are going to do now is to draft out the back pattern. Remember, this is your front. We are going to draft out the back part. So first of all, you are going to ensure you fasten this front part you've drafted. You fasten it to the material you want to use for the back one. You use a pin to hold it together. Use a pin to hold together. It's just so simple. It's just to draft out exactly what we drafted out. The only difference is that we are going to have our zip allowance. So we are going to have our zip allowance. This is a measurement of the distance from here to here is 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. You measure 1 inch down with your tape. 1 inch. You can use 2 inches, you can use ½ inch, depending. But I usually use 1 inch. This is just meant to be my zip allowance because this is the back pattern. So I'm going to draw a straight line out. So this is my zip allowance. The next thing is just to cut out. Just to cut out exactly what I have on the front. Just exactly the same. The only difference will be at the arm depth. Remember, the arm depth for the back is usually deeper. Sorry, it's not as deep as that of the front. So you see what I'll do when I get to this curve. This is where the 1.5 is meant to be, and that was what determined the curve. So I went out a little, I didn't cut it, I gave a little space. And that's how, even at the curve, I'm going to give a little space too. That's just the only difference. The rest is the same. So the next thing is I'm going to split this place open so that while sewing, but before I do it, let me open it first so that you see how it looks too. Sorry, I didn't cut it out. Remember, we have a next tutorial, coming up on different neck styles you can use. So as you can see, it's the same. So like I told you, I'm just going to split this plate into two. I'm going to split it into two. Why am I splitting it into two? When I want to sew, I'll have to join it first. I'll join an iron to enable it look good and look straight, so that when I would want to fix in my zip, it will be neat. For some people, you join it here. This is where you're meant to join it. So you're still going to hold together using a pin. So with this, we come to the end of our tutorial today. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section and I will attend to it ASAP. And remember, we have another tutorial coming up, so on your notification and subscribe. Please like and share. Thank you for watching. See you next time on my next video.